smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste the Therapist. Let's go.
Hey, hi, beautiful people. So if you have never been into the podcast before, my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. I come on, I talk to people who are doing things to empower the lives of others by sharing their story. If this is your first time in my podcast, thank you so much for being here. We're streaming on YouTube. Hi, Bella. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. And you can find all audio podcasts on the website, listed at all podcasting platforms. And so now we are at episode 286. Every time I say the number of the podcast we're on, I'm like, oh my gosh. Hey, Ursula. I can't believe we're at episode 286. It's insane. And, you know, I have amazing people hey, Conscious, I have amazing people who have come on to share their story. And so many people have been able to find so much mindset shifting, which is the whole purpose of this. So I'm going to bring on my special guests and I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you all. Hello. So we have two guests. I've done this twice before. So we're going to do it again. And I've done really well last time and we're going to make it work again. So we have two co-founders of Love Your Menses. We'll start with you, Dr. Azumah. Can you introduce yourself to my audience?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much, Celeste, for having us here today. Bria and myself are very, very grateful. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for your amazing podcast. I can't believe it's 286 now. So we're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like you said, my name is Dr. Azumah. I am a OBGYN. I'm a board certified OBGYN during the day, but at nighttime, Bria and myself are co-founders of Love Your Menses, an empowerment organization using menstruation to just change lives. Bria, myself, and Bria will touch more on it. We didn't have that growing up, so we felt it's important to empower girls that look like us using physiology. And we've gotten a lot of love doing that, and we are so, so grateful. I will hand it over to my amazing co-founder, Bria, to touch more on it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Celeste, for having us. You're just amazing, all the work that you're doing in the community. And our connection is actually through Irvine. And so, you know, may her spirit continue living on. She was just a pillar in the community. My name is Brea Gadsden, born and raised in Boston. I am a public health educator by day and in the evening and at night because the work never stops. I am the co-founder and executive director of Love Your Menses, Inc. And, you know, we support girls and young women in regards to making sure that they have healthy menstrual cycles.
Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. Now, when I think about my period, I've heard of the word period, menstrual. I've never heard of menses. Could somebody tell me, like, is that a name or is that something that we should all know that that's the name for it?
Yeah, so menses is another word for period. Just as if someone says aunt flow or code red or time of the month, menses is just another term which means menstruation or your monthly bleeding.
Okay. And you're talking about it so regular. So I'm just gonna, you know, my mom, nobody talked to me about my period. Like, so, you know, I remember going to the store and even as an adult being afraid to grab some like pads and tampons. Now I don't care. I just grab them. After they cut me open and I had my C-section, everybody see me. I was just like, I don't care. I don't care. So one of the things I think that young girls go through is like the stigma of something that naturally happens to their body and not knowing what to do about it. Dr. Azumah, in your line of work, do you notice that this is true? And why do you think that it happens, the stigma, when it comes to menstrual cycles?
Oh, wow. That's a very, very good point. And if you don't mind us going back to our journey. So Bria had this event, Love Your Menses. This was an event to empower girls. And I come in as a volunteer. And when she had all these amazing people coming to talk about their menses and the stigma, it dawned on me that there's a stigma, because in my line of field, it's not. I talk about menses every time at the
Right.
kitchen table. My daughter is 3. I always share that story. She wears Love Your Menses. She already knows about menses, so to us, it's a regular topic. And when Bria, started this event, thank God for Arvin. So I was like, wow, it's a stigma. We need to turn this event into an organization and empower people. Because for us gynecologists, we talk about quote unquote nasty stuff all the time. So to us, it's not a stigma. And that is how Bria and myself, we teamed up, we wrote a mission vision, and then we started expanding. Now we're national and international. So it's really interesting, right? Because Bria was tackling the part of the stigma, and I was like, wow, there's a stigma, because this is my career. It's not.
Right.
So I'll give it to Bria to expound more on that.
Oh, that makes sense. Just like mental health, because I'm always mindful. Like I talk about all these different disorders and things that we struggle with all the time, but I'm always mindful of the fact that everybody doesn't know the, A's and B's of mental health. And so it makes a lot of sense that you not really thinking that deeply about it being a stigma, because you literally will just have people wide open on your table all the time. Bria, so I didn't realize that this started as an event. So tell me why you wanted to create an event called Love Your Menses. I had no idea. This is something new I'm learning today.
Yes. So I suffer from dysmenorrhea, which is a medical term that means painful periods. And since I got my period at the age of 12, I've always had this negative experience associated with my period, and I hated it because I was always in pain. The pain was so debilitating that I couldn't go to work or school. And so I dreaded getting my period every month. I hated talking about it. I hated looking at my vagina. I just hated the whole experience. And then one day when I was in college, I was speaking with my friends, and all of a sudden one of my friends said, Bria, do you poop a lot on your period? And at first I was like, why is she asking me this question? And then I was like, as a matter of fact, I do all the time. And from there, just my small group of friends, we started having these honest conversations about our periods and our bodies. And I was like, this would have been great when I was 12 years old. And so I was speaking with Irvine one day because at the time she was doing a lot of work in the community, especially for adolescents ages 12 and up. And I said, Irvine, I want to host a period party for Black and brown girls in Roxbury. And typical Irvine, she said, okay, let's make it happen. I already have the location. We got food covered. All you have to do is market the event and advertise. And over 100 girls showed up. It was amazing. We had doctors of color from the community lead breakout rooms, talking with girls about menstruation and parents about their own reproductive health issues. And from there, we turned it into an organization because we wanted girls to celebrate their bodies, not only to celebrate it, but to understand what's happening and to embrace their flow. And so not only do we incorporate the social aspect in making sure that girls are supported, socially and have mentorship, but we also provide them with the scientific knowledge so they understand what is physiologically happening in your body. Why do you bleed? Growing up, I just knew it was a rite of passage. I was going to get my period, but I never knew why I actually get my period every month. And so with that knowledge, girls, young women, and people who menstruate can now have a deeper connection with their body because they understand why it's happening, and therefore they know how to manage it properly.
Wow, that's awesome. I remember seeing when the event happened, and I remember telling Irene, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool," because she works with young girls, and she was like, "Oh, I love her. Yeah, this is like happening." So, oh my gosh. So for people that are listening, Irene actually just passed away December, which is why it's kind of hard for me to say her name knowing that she's not here. But yeah, that's awesome. Now, when you talk about having the dysphoria.
Dysmenorrhea. Is that how you say
Dysmenorrhea.
it, Dr. Azumah?
Dysmenorrhea.
Oh,
Yes, you got it right. Dysmenorrhea. You got it right.
Bria,
Thank
I
you.
thought it was just me that couldn't speak well.
No, not
Yeah.
you.
So when you had the painful periods, because I think on some level people experience painful periods. How long into your like years of having your period did you get diagnosed?
I got diagnosed about 2 years into my period. So I've always known that I've had dysmenorrhea, but the only option available to me was birth control. And I'm someone who likes to understand the root cause of why something is happening. And so I'm not going to settle for just one option. And so I would always ask my doctors, well, why do I have painful periods? Don't just give me birth control to put a band-aid on the wound, but let's figure out why I'm getting this wound. And so over the years, I had to figure out, why I experienced painful periods. So I started changing my diet. I started being more physically active. I started meditating, and now I do acupuncture to see if that would help. And so over the years, it's been trial and error. I've even tried CBD oil. Dr. Azumah will tell you, I'm not afraid to try something until I solve this issue. And I know birth control is an option, but I actually want to see what else I can do holistically to make sure that my body is balanced and everything is working properly.
Good for you. I want to bring Dr. Azumah in this conversation because now that we've brought up the periods and the pain and stuff, one of the things as a therapist, I come across a lot of women who I'm having them look at their mental health from a holistic standpoint. And sometimes people say, "Oh, I think my period's coming." And some people have found that they have, a strong depressive symptoms prior to it. And so Bria brings up a good point about like different methods, not just birth control, because I feel like that's the only option a lot of people are given. Can you give my audience some kind of like background around the hormones and what happens, because a lot of people, are not self-aware that a lot of their mood swings have a lot to do with their period.
Excellent question. And just to piggyback on what Bria said, I have learned a lot about Menses watching Bria. Watching Bria try different things. And like she said, most of the times when patient comes in and say, "Oh, we have painful period," we were like, "Okay, let's start with the Motrin first and see if it would work." Then if they have regular cycle, we'll say, at least I would say, start 1 or 2 days with your Motrin and see if it would decrease the inflammation. And then after that, if it doesn't work, we'll say, "Okay, let's put you on hormonal suppression so you stop bleeding or bleeding heavy," because sometimes the enzymes, the prostaglandin from the blood itself can cause uterine contraction, which makes you hurt more when you're trying to pass out the clot. So the point is, okay, let's stop you from ovulating or decrease the bleeding, and then that could help. And like Bria said, she's not all about, even though I'm not a doctor, even though I don't practice in Boston, we're in this together, not just when we're talking about love your menses, but when she's having her painful period. Because luckily for me, I'm like most people, I don't have it, but there's that 10 to 15% that do suffer. Just watching Bria suffer makes me have, if Bria don't mind, makes me have empathy towards my patient, because she does. Like, there's nothing loving about Bria's menses. And I'm just far away, but I can see the pain. And she's tried multiple things. Now, the last time I say we because I'm living through her. We tried the CPD. It worked for maybe 1 or 2 hours, but then it didn't work again. So it's like, oh my gosh, this cycle. But yeah, I don't want to give too much information. She can share more. It's just, yeah. So normally we start with the non-steroidal, like NSAID. And then if that fails, we then go with the birth control. But now people like Bria that don't want birth control and looking for other options. So that's where we are, because hormonal suppression, either using the pill, the depot is what we do, or the IUD. So sometimes we're in a limbo when some people are like, I don't want that. And we cannot use surgical management, right? Except someone is done with their childbearing age. So, love your menses is something, because I have learned myself to be a better physician. Yes, because we attend programs and we have other speakers coming. Like we had BU period, and she talks about raspberry tea. So like I've learned holistic ways of managing period because of Love Your Menses. So it's really cool how I've become better in like options, because I see Bria and I see other people coming in with different knowledge that I didn't learn during my residency.
Bria, Dr. Azumah brings up a good point of like you call it Love Your Menses, but you've been struggling since you was 12. Like what? I don't know. How did you give it that name?
Like everyone always asks me that.
I'm sorry, I can't not ask you that because I have pain, but I know it's like a Motrin pain. It's not like what you're talking about pain. So just really quick, Dr. Azumah, what percentage of people are dealing with this?
I would say it's small. Okay, like maybe 2 to 5% of people, like, and me and Bria, we're working on different ways to create menstrual equity, because for some people it's debilitating. Yeah. There's some people like to watch them suffer, when it's not their own fault. It's just they have severe dysmenorrhea, like severe. Like I feel lucky that I just take Motrin, like you said, and I'm fine. But some people cannot even do work.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So why Love Your Menses? I love it, but I'm just curious, like how you came up with that name.
Yeah. Yes, I came up with that name because although I experienced painful periods, I love myself and I love my body enough to continue advocating for my reproductive health. And so I may not love the unpleasant symptoms of my period, but I love my body, and I'm going to keep exploring options in order to improve my wellness. And so Love Your Menses to us means to be in tune with your cycle, to embrace your flow, to understand it, and continue advocating for not only yourself and your reproductive health, but others as well. And so Dr. Azumah and I are paying it forward, and we're paving the way. So hopefully other young girls, if they experience dysmenorrhea, we already have a guidebook and we could just give it to them so they know what to do and they don't have to go through this trial and error like I did.
Yes, I felt like you just snapped back at me. That was good. I love it. That was good. I just want to have this question. Is it true that having an orgasm will alleviate period pain, Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, Bria, go for it. Bria, and then I'll add, she was nodding. Go ahead.
I hope my mom is not watching, but yes, it does help.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom. It does help.
Okay.
I guess another conversation for another day. But Dr. Azumah, I know a lot of people, they do have sex on their period too. Is that safe? I mean, from like a hygiene point of view?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you use condom, if it's fine. It's just a bodily fluid. I mean, if you guys, first of all, both know your HIV status, thank you, Bria, for bringing it up, then it shouldn't be a problem. You can use condoms, like barrier contraception to also help. But again, and another reason orgasm could help is because it releases endorphin. Like anything that would relax your body would also help. Like Bria said, right? Exercising, changing diet. And one thing Bria touched on indirectly is your active period. Like when you're having your menses, it's just a part of your cycle. I think that's what Bria was saying. Our cycle continues, right? So there are different phases in our cycle. So Bria is like, yes, the 3-4 days I might have pain, but it doesn't negate the 24 days that I have, and my body is still evolving. My body is still reacting with my brain and my ovaries and my uterus. So like Bria said, we bring a unique holistic approach to understanding femininity. Like we use menstruation as that tool for us to teach girls, yes, you know your period, but there's more to you. Be empowered, love yourself, especially Black and brown girls. We've been told otherwise, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Thank you for bringing that point across. You're right. She did mention it in that way. And that's like, you know, if I'm struggling with depression, do I not like myself because I'm having symptoms from depression? I still love myself. So I was like, you know what, Bria, you actually make a good point. I feel you on that one. But it's just so overt, and it's so, you know, in your face, the pain. But the fact that you can have a different perspective about it is amazing. Now I want to move on to just kind of like your kind of target audience is Black and brown girls. You know, one of the things that like we know is that a lot of times, not just stigma, but socioeconomic status, so many things kind of prevent like people that look like us from getting the education around this that they need, or, you know, tampons or pads. You know, some people don't even have, you know, anything to kind of help them through this process. Why did you kind of target, Bria, Black and brown girls in your audience, in this audience for Love Your Menses?
Yes, so we strategically targeted girls in the pre-pubertal stage because we wanted to make sure that they had all of the resources and knowledge that they needed before they get their first period. Because for a lot of girls that we talk to and that we mentor, their first period experience was scary. A lot of them, I've heard so many people say they didn't even know they were on their period. They were just bleeding for months until their parent was like, you got your period. And that's not okay. We want them to understand the signs and the symptoms. And so we even talk about puberty, because a lot of people think puberty starts when you get your first period, but puberty starts years before that. Even as your breasts are forming, usually you get discharge about 6 months to a year before you actually get your first period. And so we talk to girls about that as young as age 8 years old, because research is also showing that girls are undergoing puberty at earlier ages than our mothers and grandmothers did, due to environmental toxins and endocrine disrupting chemicals that are in our foods, in our beauty products, and so forth. And so we specifically target adolescents in the pre-pubertal stage, so that way when they get their first period, they are prepared. They have their first period kit. They have their pads. They know how to use a pad. And then they have a support system, whether that's their family, their friends, or Dr. Azumah or myself.
Wow, that's awesome. I really love that kind of community and the support. And anytime we talk about anything, it doesn't like control us, like the stigma of like I'm bleeding and then you're just kind of hiding it. You know, there's so much fear in that. But if you're educating people early on, they can kind of understand. Dr. Azumah, Bria brings up a point about, you know, young girls are experiencing their periods early and earlier. From your perspective in your line of work, like what's the kind of earliest age that you know of that this is happening, and kind of like what's the latest age that kind of people are kind of experiencing their periods?
Okay, a very good question. So like Bria said, and even if you compare like the menstruation age or onset of menarche, as Bria suggested, in America, Black and Africans, they're so different. Like, for example, me, I had my period at age 16, right? So I was way older than, you know, Bria, I'll use the example at age 12, because there's a change in diet. Like Bria said, the endocrine disrupting chemicals that we use for our hair. And we have a program on that as well on our YouTube page, where we talk to Dr. Kin 500 dermatologists about this substance. Like we think, oh yes, we're getting our hair straightened, but we're putting chemicals that is passed down and is affecting our kids. So precocious puberty, like you would say, having period early, we would say about 6 to 7. I don't deal with pediatric patients, because I deal with a lot more mature patients. I'm just
Did
a
you just say
generalist.
6 to 7?
Yes, precaution. Yes, some people do, especially, because there's estrogen formation, not just through your ovaries, but even under your fat, right? Estrone. So like if you're overweight, so that
my daughter is 7. Like, you can't say that right now to me. Like, I thought I have a few more years.
to have to come join our program. We will get her ready. Like Bria said, we've helped a lot of people, not just in America, but even abroad, get ready for their periods. There are people that have gone to their father's house, and got their period, but they had their little period kit. So they didn't even need to tell their dad, they're like, I got my period. Or they wear their t-shirt, love your menses, on their day of period.
God,
so it's just
awesome.
Bria and myself, we've transitioned, we've seen the work, and and we're grateful for that legacy that even Bria is younger than me. Even in our age, we could do that, and we just answered the mission, just do it. Bria and I were like, let's just do this. And we've been grateful. Boston has really supported us in terms of their grants. And you talked about hygiene inequity. Bria has organizes the menstrual kit distribution, whereby she and the team drives to different poor areas or poor neighborhood to donate menstruation kits so that people have this. So during this time of COVID, they still have this product that they need at least 3 to 7 days per month. So we're doing our part, and Boston has really helped and supported us.
Yes, that's good. I'm gonna talk about that, what Bria has been doing, because I have seen it. I've been following her for a while. But Dr. Azumah, while we're on this kind of topic, can you have a conversation with my parents that are listening around the importance of like having a conversation? I've had clients who talk about just starting to develop breast, and these like things start popping out of their chest and no one's saying anything, but they're just, and that's how people stop loving their bodies, is because no one's saying like whether it's their breasts or women specifically. I haven't really heard guys talk about this, but their body starts changing and then they struggle with what they look like because no one's talking about it. What would you say to kind of like parents around the importance of
get our book?
I have that book.
Get our book. And this is Bria, and during our first event, I like it because this is Bria and our first event. Our book allows you to start the conversation. Actually, Bria and myself would say the conversation should not start when we're having teleki, when the breast bud is forming, but it should start casually, so that the child is ready for their body. Like it's a beautiful thing, as Bria and myself would do. So this guide has information on menstruation. So you could either leave it on your coffee table and have your daughter review it, and then you can ask questions. It's just a very beautiful book that we wrote. Again, it's not a plug for ours, because we are the authors of the book, but because it's really, really good. So the first page, Maya asks the doctor, what is the menstrual cycle? So we go there and we say, oh, we're glad that you asked. The menstrual cycle is a special cycle in your body that connects different organs. So the next question is, wow, Maya says, I am eager to know about the menstrual cycle. And then we just have a simple conversation. Bria and myself would say, please have this conversation with your girls. And we say this: if you don't teach your girls evidence-based information, correct information, they will learn incorrect information from the outside. So why don't you be the first? And Bria and myself have provided you with tools. Check out our website and you will see what we do for people that look like us. Thank you.
Yes, that is a plug for the book. That's an awesome book. Like, let's call it what it is. Don't say that. we're plugging the book. Maya learns about menstruation. That is amazing. Like, I knew about the book, but I didn't ask that question. I didn't think about how it ties in. That's a perfect way. I have that talks about puberty. I have a book. I mean, that's more broad, right?
Okay.
But specifically for menstruation, I think that that's an important thing. And you said like a girl may go to her dad's, but you know, dads can have the conversation, but I do understand like it could be challenging. I know, like I have a Haitian husband and he's just not about that life. And so like, this type of literature can help ease the conversation. So I think it's amazing. That's really amazing. And then I'll put the link in the show notes for people listening to the podcast. So thank you for sharing that. Bria, so one of the things you've been doing is that you've been kind of going in the community that you live in different areas to, bring different pads and tampons. Tell people about that thought process and exactly like why you do that.
Yes. And so we've been distributing period care packages and also period dispensers, just as the one you can see on the screen. Because one thing we realized is that if people are quarantining, they may not have easy access to go to a pharmacy or Walmart or Target to purchase period products, or they may not have the financial means to do so. Also, a lot of students, in fact, 56% of school nurses in Massachusetts reported that students missed 1 or 2 days of school due to lack of access to period products. And so for a lot of school children, the school nurse is the person that they go to for products. So because students are learning remotely, they don't have access to their school nurse. And to my knowledge, a lot of school districts aren't distributing period products at the meal site.
And so therefore, about that, Bria, that's crazy. You're thinking about everything. Yes. Sorry, go ahead. Like, that's so good that you thought about that. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And so distributing food, of course, is top priority because people need their bodies to be nourished, but people also need hygiene products. And so if a girl goes to her school nurse for period products every month, and now she does not have access to that school nurse, what is she supposed to do? Even though she's at home, no one wants to be bleeding on their underwear or on their pants. They deserve to have a pad or tampon. And so I started just purchasing products at Target one day and making these care packages, posted it on Facebook. People started donating. I said, Ebere, I think we have something going on here. Let's turn this into a project. And so since then, we've distributed over 30,000 pads and tampons to people in the Boston area, and 100% organic cotton pads and tampons because we believe it's safe products. And a lot of feminine hygiene products include endocrine disrupting chemicals such as fragrances and dyes that are harmful to our reproductive health. And we're strong believers in safe products. And so therefore, all of our products contain no harsh chemicals, because a lot of girls and young women will say, whenever I wear a pad, I'm always itchy and it's irritated down there. And it's because of the fragrances. And so we always tell girls, you don't need a pad that smells good. As long as you practice good hygiene, you don't need the extra fragrance or any of that stuff. It's not supposed to smell like roses and lilies down there anyways. And so we talk about that. We talk about vaginal hygiene. And so it's been great distributing these period care packages. We also started distributing postpartum care packages because we wanted to support new moms. Usually when someone gives birth, people buy stuff for the baby, but what about the mom? The mom's body has undergone a serious change. She just gave birth to a child. And a lot of women say they didn't know they were going to bleed after giving birth, or that their nipples were going to be sore, or that they would experience edema and have swollen feet. And so our postpartum care bundles, through Bodily is a company who makes these wonderful products, we were able to supply maxi pads, stool softener, peri bottle, these cozy socks, and a guidebook which talks more about the postpartum recovery period, and organic breast pads and mesh underwear, anything and everything a mom would need.
Thank you. You're so awesome. I see Dr. Azumah smiling because this is where her bag is right here. She's an OB. This is her stuff right here. Can you unmute yourself, Dr. Azumah? Because I want to follow up on something that Bria said. Look at you smiling. You're like, yes, because this is
No, I'm smiling because, people pray for partners, right? Like spouses. You say you have a Haitian spouse. I mean, I prayed for a partner. I wasn't specific, and God sent me Bria as the best. You know what I mean? Like, she makes me smile,
I can tell. You're admiring her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she make I am very blessed, to have a partner. Amazing. Like, sorry. So I smile when I see her.
No, it's good. I can tell you really admire her. And I do too. I have chills thinking about it's like a full cycle, period. And then baby, like so one of the things she talked about just now about, because this is something that I didn't know, right? Like the chemicals and stuff. People say it's irritating. Someone's asking you suggest tampons. What's your knowledge about the different type of products that are out there? I personally haven't been affected, but I do know some people don't. I think it's tox syndrome. I forgot what it is with the tampons, but
toxic shock syndrome.
Yeah, I think a lot of there's some things that people don't understand around the products that are available, and how their body or their system could be sensitive. Can you just talk to my audience about that?
Yeah, like Bria said it absolutely correctly. Anything with fragrance should not be down there. Like sorry, I'm going to quote Bria, right? It shouldn't smell like, what did you call it?
Lily or roses.
Lily or roses there. Like,
why can't we smell like lily and roses, Dr. Azumah?
Because like Bria said, absolutely, it's an irritant. Yeah. Like, go organic. Like, whenever we go to talk to people, when we go to suppliers, Bria and myself, we insist it has to be organic, even though they're giving it for free. We know our Black and brown girls deserves the best. We do not sugarcoat it. When we go to talk to Bodily, we say our Black and brown girls deserve the best. I don't care if it's free or not. Bria does not care if it's free or not. So basically, like Bria said, anything that smells nice, you should not use it. Obviously, we know now not to douche either, right? Just let it be.
I know that now. Nobody told me earlier, but I know that now. But why is that out there anyway? Why do people like, I guess if nobody's talking to your body, you're thinking like, let me give a good clean up there real quick with the douche.
Yes, right. To please someone else or to make yourself smell better. But I'm sure, I've never surveyed men, but I'm sure it smells good, just the natural smell, right? I think it smells good. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. And that's where Bria and myself come. Love yourself. You don't need to put too much pressure. You're just perfect the way God made you.
And I think that if you're educated around the physiological way that your body works, you're not going to be adding all this extra crap on there because you don't know what's going on. So you're like, I got to figure this out and get rid of all this stuff. So it makes a lot of sense why people kind of use different products, and without the education, you're trying to figure it out on your own.
Bria said something. She said, 6 months before you reach menarche, you have vaginal discharge. So vaginal discharge is not pathologic, right? It's part of the menstrual cycle. It becomes pathologic if you have a foul smell, if it's cheesy, but don't increase that risk by douching. Like, no douching. Like, just let it be. You smell good. Love yourself. Eat some pineapple. Like, go for it, Bria. I want Bria to add to it too.
That's good. I want to talk about your international work, because you're not just in the United States, and I mean, you're globally. How did you end up reaching? Because you started with an event. Like, this is crazy that you just started with an event and now it's something so big, a nonprofit. How did you grow it into this nonprofit and now international?
Yes. So I credit Ebere for all of the global work that we're doing. She is really passionate about medical mission work and especially giving back to her home country of Nigeria. And so she said, Bria, let's expand to Nigeria. I know someone, Ada. And I was like, Ebere, I don't know this person. I was like, how did you meet her? She said, on Facebook. I said, Ebere, what? I was just like, okay, so we're going to walk by faith.
I feel like Dr. Azumah, she got you going, like, because she came to you when she came to the event, and now she helps you think bigger than what you think. Clearly, she pushes you ahead.
And that's what a great coach does. They constantly want you to elevate. And so Ada is amazing. She learned about our organization. She said, I want to bring this to Abuja. And so we said, okay, go for it. Plan an event. We'll send you money to purchase period products for the girls. And I think there were like over 400 girls at the first event. And it was, so for me, it's been a cultural learning experience, because in my head, I said, okay, anyone could just go into a community or a village and plan an event. She said, no, we have to get permission from the king of the village first, the chief. So Ada had to go to the chief's house, bring some wine and some food, talk about Love Your Menses, and get permission to host this event in the community. And so I had to learn about that. But it's been a great experience. We've been doing a lot of great work in Nigeria, hosting menstrual health education workshops and distributing free period products. We've also expanded to Liberia, under the leadership of Yasa. She's an amazing, amazing young woman. Ebere and her attended Harvard School of Public Health. And Yasa already does a lot of work with women in Liberia. And so we distributed period products to girls in 5 schools in Monrovia. And we're in the process of raising money so that way we can build new bathroom facilities. Because although distributing free period products is great, it's not helpful if they don't have sanitary places to dispose of the products or to use the bathroom. And so we're always thinking through an equity lens on how can we do more. We just don't want to enter a community one time and leave. We want to have a long-lasting impact and relationship with the community. We've also expanded to Gambia through the leadership of Matita. Her and her mom started a nonprofit supporting Gambian women, pregnant women. And so we distribute free period products to girls in Gambia. And lastly, we expanded to Haiti. And that has my heart. Dr. Karine has been instrumental in creating programs for girls in Haiti. We had 2 events in December, one in Port-au-Prince, another in a smaller town in Haiti. And it's just been amazing to see our work go global. And I always tell people that menstruation is universal. No matter what your culture is, where you live, what your race, your gender is, you bleed. And therefore, we're going to support you. And so, although we may not identify as, Liberian or Gambian, we all bleed. And so therefore, we have that common connection. And Ebere and I make sure whatever we do overseas, it's up to par, just as the work that we're doing here in the U.S.
And if you don't mind me adding to that, my background, I'm Nigerian, right? And Bria is African American. So menstruation brought something in common in both of us. As we serve the African American community in the United States, we are also reaching back to serve the Africans. I think it's so beautiful that me and Bria have chose to learn about each other's culture and to encourage girls, because we see that we are so similar. We are all, like Nelson Mandela would say, children of Africa.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And for people listening, if you do want to donate to this amazing cause, if you go to loveyourmenses.com, you can find the link for that in the show notes. So I do want to talk about your flow tech for girls that you created. I feel like what didn't you create yet? Like everything, it's amazing. Like seriously, everything that you guys are doing is like so amazing. And there's so much commonalities and the fact that we all bleed. Like, so That's the common ground that we have. And to have this education for people is truly amazing. So if you can tell people about that program and why you created it and what it's for.
Yes, so we created Flow Tech for Girls really because whenever we would talk to girls about where they get their menstrual health education, they will always say Google or WebMD, or, they would just search whenever there was an issue, and they would self-diagnose themselves. They would get scared because, they wasn't sure whether or not to trust the information. And so Dr. Azumah and I, we had to do something about that. And so we said, let's create a period mobile app where, girls are on their phones anyways. So why don't we create an app by and for girls of color where they can learn about the menstrual cycle? And so Ebere and I at first were just going to find a software engineer and develop the app ourselves. But then we said, how can we turn this into a STEM program for our girls that we're currently working with, to give them opportunities to not only learn about the menstrual cycle, but also learn about technology and coding. And so they could build their resumes while they're still young. And so we developed this program called Flow Tech for Girls in partnership with Pearl Lumi Creative. They're a team of women of color software engineers. And then Why Engage was started by this amazing Black woman who has experience training youth on how to be leaders in their community. And so our girls currently meet every Saturday virtually. They've already learned about the menstrual cycle, and now they're learning about technology, and they're going to be designing and publishing this period mobile app, which will be available this spring.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really amazing to couple it all together so that, they're learning on both ends, technology and about their body. That's truly amazing. And then you're going to be doing something tomorrow. Tell people about what you're doing tomorrow. It's here in the city, right? Her store, is it in Boston?
Yes. Well, it's virtually. And so we're hosting an event titled Her Story, Passing Her the Mic, Learning Our History and Shaping Our Future Through Storytelling. And so our guest speaker is Miss Alleviate. She is the great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker. And she's going to be talking about Madam Walker's legacy and how she was a pillar in the community, really advocating for sisterhood, social justice, and entrepreneurship. And we're also going to be highlighting Black women in Boston who've made an impact throughout history. People you normally wouldn't hear their stories in schools, such as Doris Funn and Melnia Cass and Muriel Snowden, all of these amazing Black women who had roots in Boston who've made significant contributions. And the reason why we're hosting this event is because whenever I learn the history of especially Black women, I just feel even more empowered and inspired to continue their legacies. And so we don't want our girls to forget their history. And we think there's such power in storytelling. And so this is going to be a great discussion. We encourage you all to RSVP and to join the Zoom event. And you can ask Ms. Bundles any questions you have about Madam Walker and her true legacy. Don't just watch the Netflix documentary. You can actually talk to one of her descendants. And so we encourage you to RSVP, and you'll receive the Zoom link, and join us tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so this is open to anybody. And if you go to their website, loveyourmenses.com/events, you will see this listed on as an online event. And you would say young girl, anyone can kind of join this. Isn't specifically targeted to anybody specifically.
Yes, anyone can join. It's an intergenerational conversation. And so we encourage people across the lifespan to tune in. That's
awesome. Dr. Azumah, what is it like? I mean, you guys are just kind of moving along. People say I do a lot, but I'm like, y'all do a lot. Y'all do a lot. What is it like working with Bria and kind of Because this Love Your Menses was, if I'm not mistaken, was 2 years ago. The
2019. Yes.
2019, and we're just hit 2021.
Yes. Yes.
And we were in the middle of a pandemic. So the fact that you've been moving and grooving is truly amazing. What is it like to kind of keep this going, despite everything that's been happening around the world with, racism and, mental health? You guys are still doing it. How is it for you, Dr. Azumah, to continue this process?
I mean, to me and Bria, it's just an emotional experience for us. And truly, we're very blessed that I'm a spiritual person, so it's Bria, that the Lord would choose both of us to do so much. We just get so humble, like literally, because when we first started, we didn't know it was gonna be this big, but we really wanted to give back to girls that look like us, because we know what racism is. We know they don't have books that show their images. So instead of us seeing it as a negative, we said, how can we do our part? And we just, me and Bria, we work well together. We're always talking and using problems as a tool for us to find solutions. So that's what we do. We just sit down with our team and say, here's the problem. How can we find a solution? And we just keep going. Like Bria said, the menstrual distribution came up during COVID-19, when we're like, how will these girls, Bria is like, how will these people get their pads when they can't go to the store? And it's just, we just keep doing what the Lord wants us to do. Sorry.
And so, no, please, don't ever apologize for expressing emotions to a therapist. It's okay. It's probably what's making you emotional is because, like, we kind of went through the timeline, and I haven't been on this journey with you, but just talking about it with you on this show is very inspiring. And I think, whether we're talking about teaching people about puberty or periods, I think just the journey of entrepreneurship and building this amazing brand. And I always try to tell people, like, just put one foot in front of the other. A lot of times we have ideas and it could be all over the place, but let me just talk to Irvine and just tell her what I have. Right. And then she had this stuff. And I always say, like, God gives us, everything that we need, especially if it's our purpose. And I know a lot of people are sitting on their purpose because of fear, because they're afraid to speak up. And Bria, you had to ask for support. What was that like, for people that are listening and they're finding themselves inspired by your journey? What was it like to kind of, in college, to have this conversation with other people that were your age group, and then talk to Irvine? How did that transpire for you emotionally, you think?
It was definitely not easy. And so Ebere and I have accomplished so much, but our journey has not been easy at all. It's been super emotional. And, I've always doubted myself. I've always doubted my abilities. And, Ebere has always elevated me and provided me with those words of wisdom. And, even when I didn't want to hear it, she would definitely show that tough love, as well as Irvine. And so, I've always never been afraid to ask people for help or guidance. But one thing about Irvine and Ebere is that they always give me what I need, even when I don't know that I need it. So, for example, operating a nonprofit is not easy at all. Talking about periods, I got that down packed. I can talk to my friends. I could talk to, a white businessman from suburbia. I could talk to anyone about periods. But operating a nonprofit, now that's hard. And, it's always emotional talking about Irvine. But a few weeks before she passed, she randomly said, Bria, I hope you're keeping track of all the receipts and everyone who you distribute products to, and gathering that information for grant reporting. And I'm just like, yeah, Irvine, I'll get to that eventually. until I actually had to do a grant report. And now she wasn't here to help me through it, but I remember what she told me, and she would always give me these little tidbits, even when I didn't know I needed it. And I would just put it in my toolbox. And so over the years, Ebere, Irvine, Miss Kenner, Meredith, all of these amazing Black women have been my mentors, constantly giving me everything I needed in order to continue going through life. And I just put it in my little imaginary toolbox, and I keep that with me every day. And so I salute them, and I always encourage people to have mentors. You need mentors in your life. And I always encourage people, Oprah doesn't need to be a mentor. You have these community heroes. You have these amazing women in your community who are doing great work, who are here to support you. And so I love, I'm all about community. I love, leaders in the community who are doing great things. And I always connect with them. And I love my elders, especially. And so I always go to them because they're so wise. And I feel like they're so connected to God for some reason. I don't know why, but whenever I talk to my elders, I feel like they always give me everything I need spiritually in order to get through. And so that's how I've gotten through over the years, mentorship. And so Bria and I were mentoring the next generation. And we are providing them with the tools that they need so they can keep in their toolbox. So when we're not here anymore, they have everything that they need.
That's awesome. I just, golly, I just want to, I love the fact that you guys have, dedicated this to Irvine. As Bria talks about, oh gosh. As Bria talks about, as she talks about the, mentorship and just like, Irvine like reaches out. She reached out to people, and if you have people that are, if you have people in your life or people you're seeing, I think like one of the amazing things about what she did, she provides community. And I think, Bria and you, Dr. Azumah, you guys are providing community. And so like, and I think that's the way like we keep going. I think that's the way we're able to continue to make, movements, make the needle go forward. I know sometimes it feels like it's not going forward because there's so much struggle, right? There's so much struggle. But I do believe that like everything counts when, when Irvine called me, when she see me posting mental health things and would be like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. That helped a lot. Right. And I know after you reached out to her that one time, she never stopped. She never stopped, looking out for you. So I think, people like Bria, I, and Dr. Azumah, we're going to make sure we keep that memory alive and continue to support people. But I really love, everything that you guys are doing for, girls that look like us. Because like someone said early in the show, like if I had this program early on, it would have been so amazing. It would have, less conflict in my head, less conflict about me and what's going on with me. So I know like this is going to touch so many people. So thank you guys so much. So Love Your Menses is, gosh, we were laughing and crying. Like this is the first time this has happened on the show. Thanks a lot, guys. So, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They have a donate link. The book Love Your Menses is on there. I've learned a lot like on here just today. I try not to do too much research because I love learning with my audience, so I can ask really authentic questions. I want to start with you, Dr. Azumah, if you have any last words that you want to leave my audience, and then I'll hand it off to you, Bria.
Yes. Thank you so much again, Celeste. This was amazing. We're very grateful to be in your space. What I have to say is just give back. You know, a lot of people did not have that experience, neither did Bria or myself, but we don't hold it as a negative. We see it as an opportunity to give back. And whenever you give back to the community, it always comes back. And my second point is just get started. Like Bria and myself, we didn't have the finances. Whatever we did, we just did it. We had the skills, we didn't have the finances, but as we kept moving, people kept supporting us. We started having our financial helpers support us. And without them, we cannot be here. So if you have an idea, please don't let it go. Leave this earth with you, share it, and be open to partnership. Because Bria and myself would not be this far along if we did not have each other.
I love that. Open to partnership. It's okay to just kind of start the work. I think, and that's a good point, because we look at what we don't have and we allow that to stop us from moving forward. You could have been like, well, we don't got this money. Like, how are we going to do this? And instead you looked for solutions. You're still looking for solutions every time something comes up. So that's a really good tip for the audience. I think that can really help them kind of shift their mindset. Bria, we're going to leave you with the last words. Beautiful.
I would say just be you unapologetically. And, unapologetically, that's the word that we use for everything. Our tagline is flowing through life unapologetically. And that's exactly what Ebere and I do. No one likes to talk about periods, but we talk about it anyways. No one likes to hold a pad or see a pad in public, but we distribute them anyways, and we're doing it unapologetically. And so no matter what you're passionate about, do it authentically and unapologetically, and trust the process. I didn't know that we would turn into a global organization. When Ebere said that, I was like, Ebere, we don't have the money. What are you talking about? I haven't even been to Nigeria. How can I trust that this is going to work out? But we've trusted the process, and we trust people on our team, and we rely on them. Brea and I always say, love your mentors is not us. It's community. It's everyone around us who keep the organization going. And so we trust the process every single day. There are days I'm crying because I don't know how we're going to get money, or I don't know how, we're going to keep, distributing pads, but, things always work out in our favor. And we have grace, and we give thanks and gratitude every single day. And so even through the tough times, I encourage you to continue giving gratitude, because there's so much to be grateful for. And lastly, I will say that, and just know that everything comes back full circle. And so we did our event in Haiti, and one of our volunteers, Euroline, she was on FaceTime with her cousin who lives in Haiti, and her cousin was wearing a Love Your Menses shirt. And Euroline said, wait, I volunteer for that organization. What are you doing? I haven't even told you about Love Your Menses. And so God works in mysterious ways, and you just never know how he's working and moving behind the scenes, and everything always comes back full circle. And so trust the process, be you unapologetically, and always rely on people in your community to support you.
That's awesome. I can't follow that up with anything. I think that's great. You guys are amazing. Make sure you check out the website, Love Your Menses. If you can donate. Even the book, make sure you check out the book, even if it's not for you. If you have a niece, if you have a dad that may have girls, get the book. The link for that will be in the show notes. Dr. Azumah, Bria, thank you so much for your time and sharing your amazing, amazing organization. When I've been watching you for a while, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to have you on. So you said yes. So thank you for saying yes. and thank you for being who you both are. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Celeste. And you're now a part of the Love Your Menses family.
You really helped me shift my thought process. Every month I'd be like, oh my God, like again, now I'm gonna have to be like, Celeste, love your menses, girl, love your menses. You're going to have me saying it now because you're making me really rethink this. So, I mean, that's what the point of the show is. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, beautiful ladies.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening. So definitely like the book is, you can find that link in the show notes. Definitely check out the book. If you want to donate, definitely donate, or just follow them. Even if you can't donate, just follow them, share their stuff. One thing I remember Bria said, she said something about like, supporting, and it's like, how can we support? She's like, just share. Like even if you can't donate, just share the post. You never know, somebody, a share goes a long way. So thank you guys for listening. This episode is going to be up on all podcasting platforms. So if you enjoyed it and you want to share it with somebody that you love, you'll be able to share it. All you got to do is find the podcast called CelesteTheTherapist, and it's going to be streaming on all podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next day.
Smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit.